Between Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, and Cartoon Network has always been my favorite. Of course, Disney Channel has my favorite show of all time, Dave the Barbarian, but Cartoon Network always had this sense of spontaneity and variety. And they're kind of the best place for creators. They're not perfect by any means, but compared to the competition, wow. We all know that Nickelodeon is pure evil. For more information, check out our previous videos. And Disney Channel is owned by Disney. What a shock. Disney is a giant corporation that does not care about creators whatsoever. 52 episodes or less, and you're gone. And unless you're huge like Kim Possible or Phineas and Ferb, you're not gonna beat it, even to this day. But like I said, Cartoon Network isn't perfect. They've made a fair share of mistakes. Whether it being abandoning cartoons in 2009 for live-action shows that were just rip-offs of other shows, or screwing over creators like what happened with Whatever Happened to Robot Jones, or in the subject of today's video, they make a promotional campaign that nobody wanted to do. Do you guys remember Cartoon Network Invaded? Don't worry, this isn't gonna be one of those clickbait
"Do you remember Cartoon Network Invaded?"
videos. It's not gonna be that, but really, do you remember it? Because I most certainly do. I came across some promos for Cartoon Network Invaded on YouTube recently, and it unlocked this big memory in my head of being so excited for this thing when I was little, rushing to the TV to check it out, except for Ed, Edd n Eddy. I wasn't allowed to watch that, but I watched it in secret, and consistently being blown away by how lame it was. So Cartoon Network Invaded was this big promotional stunt for Cartoon Network where, oh no, aliens invaded Cartoon Network headquarters in Georgia, and they're gonna enact some kind of evil world conquest plan of some sort, and it's all gonna be manifested through the shows. There would be 5 shows selected for Cartoon Network Invaded, and each one would tell an overarching story. You would start with one show, and then go all the way to the last. And they would tell an ongoing narrative about the war against this specific set of aliens. Sounds pretty exciting, right? It's like a giant crossover without an actual crossover. I don't think any network's done this before, at least definitely not a kids one. So what shows did you select? Billy and Mandy? Okay, good choice. Camp Lazlo? Alright, yeah, I can kinda see it. Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends? My Gym Partner's a Monkey? Okay, maybe. Ed, Edd n Eddy? No. Okay, no. No!
No! No!
Ed, Edd n Eddy's supposed to be a realistic show-ish. When you get down to the art style and the crazy physics, no, it's not. But it's supposed to be grounded in real life. Aliens? Really? So how did this thing come to be? Well, according to Maxwell Atoms, the creator of The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, apparently, Cartoon Network made a deal with Kraft. Yeah, that Kraft, the one that makes the cheese and macaroni and marshmallows. This whole thing was gonna be a giant Kraft product placement, which, spoiler alert, explains all the presence of cheese in these episodes. But then at the last minute, Kraft backed out. No one's really sure why this happened, but my speculation personally is because they saw these episodes and went, wow, these suck. And according to Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends creator Craig McCracken, nobody wanted to do this. Not him, not Danny Antonucci, not Maxwell Atoms. Nobody. They were forced to do this by Cartoon Network. Executive meddling at its finest. And I think it shows in the final product because these episodes, honestly, some of these are some of the worst that the show has cranked out. I'm not joking. They can get really, really bad. And I think that's the worst aspect out of all of this. Cartoon Network, on their part, did everything right. Except for the executive meddling, of course, but that goes without saying. They hyped this up perfectly. Ads everywhere. Constant reminders of this ongoing story that was supposed to be this big epic. And they even changed the name of their Friday night lineup, Friday Night Premiere Thunder, to Friday Night Premiere Laser just for the occasion. You would not be able to resist this if you were a cartoon and action-loving kid like I was. But again, even as a kid, when I watched these, I realized that this was a total sham. Now let's get into the specifics with each episode in order. Cheese A Go-Go. So something funny about this one, real quick before we get into the episode itself. Cartoon Network Invaded episodes, when they premiered, would always start out with the same intro. They'd all have the same. It'd be this flying saucer that came down and it would show some clips of action or screaming from the episode, and then we'd get right into the cartoon. After Cartoon Network Invaded ended and Cartoon Network presumably wanted to pretend that this never happened, all of the episodes got their own title cards except for Billy and Mandy and Cheese A Go-Go here. Billy and Mandy didn't have one because they kind of had their own cinematic opening anyways, so they didn't really have the whole flying saucer thing. For Cheese A Go-Go though, I don't know what happened. For years, all the reruns would have the Cartoon Network Invaded opening, and it was very bizarre, because it still said Cartoon Network Invaded Part 1. It is worth noting, however, that this episode didn't get reran very much, and for very good reason. This is the worst episode of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends there is. It is awful. First of all, the most present issue throughout this cartoon, Cheese is in it a lot. You know, Cheese, a little bit of him goes a long way. The only time that there's a lot of cheese in an episode and it ends up working is the Big Cheese. And Mac Daddy too, I forgot about that one. So yeah, only 2 times, that's not very good. But with Cheese, he has basically just one line he repeats over and over again. And by over and over again, I mean over 400 times. I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. He says gotta go over 400 times in this episode alone. The episode is about how Cheese keeps saying he's gotta go, while Frankie's running around town trying to do all these errands for Foster's. Meanwhile, Blue thinks that Cheese is trying to contact alien life forms, or is an alien himself, or something. And how does this connect into the Cartoon Network Invaded storyline? Well, short answer is, it doesn't until the last 10 seconds. Towards the end of this episode, Blue gets on a loudspeaker and screams to the heavens, "Hey aliens, we have your cheese, come on down to Earth." Of course he's talking about the character Cheese, but the aliens that hear him think he's talking about cheese. So at the end of the episode, the aliens come to Earth, making it clear they're hunting for cheese. Yeah, so you really only have to watch like the last couple minutes. And even then, there's a lot of filler in between the announcement and the aliens coming to Earth. All the rest of it, all that gotta go, all that Eduardo on laughing gas, absolutely pointless. Like I said, to me this is the worst episode of Foster's of them all, even beating unpopular ones like the Little Peas. Luckily, the next episode of Invaded was a lot better. Real quick, I'm gonna interrupt this video for a little bit of a fan art shout out. Yes, we're still doing these, and this one comes courtesy of Harley Burke. Check it out. This is really something special. It captured my likeness perfectly, especially how much I talk about Moral Oral. So if you want to give Harley Burke some love, which I highly recommend that you do, the link to their Twitter is in the description, and go ahead and tell them how much you love this piece. Anyways, back to Cartoon Network Invaded. Ed, Edd n Eddy's The Eds Are Coming. This is a filler episode that would make even Naruto blush. It has absolutely zero purpose to the overall Cartoon Network Invaded story. Again, unless you count the last 10 seconds. I'll talk about that later. This episode is about the cul-de-sac kids seeing some strange occurrences inside Rolf's house, and they're convinced that he and his family are being held hostage by aliens! So the whole cul-de-sac bands together in this kind of Rebel Alliance sort of military group, and they're trying to save Rolf and stop the aliens from taking over Peach Creek. This episode reminds me a lot of The Day the Ed Stood Still, where it's the kids' imagination going completely insane and creating their own adventure. However, in this case, it's not Ed pretending to be some kind of monster and they all get wrapped up in it. This time, they're fighting against what seems to be a very clear and present danger. All the characters get nice little moments and times to shine, even Rolf, who doesn't really appear much. And it's a nice little funny gag at the end revealing that, oh, it's not an alien after all, it's actually just Rolf's family from out of town. Out of the country, even. Good old country. This episode is surprisingly well liked by fans because of that, except for one aspect. The last 10 seconds. What happens at the end of this is the aliens come down and take the cul-de-sac away, and that's it. Jimmy had a dream just like this in the beginning of the episode, so haha, a bookend. But it doesn't really have all too much to do with the Cartoon Network Invaded story until you get to Billy and Mandy. Really though, if you skip this one, you would miss nothing. And I can testify. You remember when I mentioned that I wasn't allowed to watch Ed, Edd n Eddy when I was little? Funny enough, it was literally the only show I wasn't allowed to watch. Well, I didn't see The Eds Are Coming when Cartoon Network Invaded first came out. What happened was, about a year after Cartoon Network Invaded came out, this thing got re-aired, and I decided to give it a shot. It was the only one I ended up missing, so maybe if I watched it, the story would make a little bit more sense. Surprise, surprise, it changed nothing. Great. So if for whatever reason you're going through Cartoon Network Invaded for the very first time, if you're unable to get a hold of The Eds Are Coming, don't worry. It's not going to change your overall experience. Funny enough, the same can be said about the next episode, My Gym Partner's a Monkey, That Darn Platypus. I don't really like this show. Even when I was younger, I just thought it was kinda eh. I mostly watched it because nothing else was on. But looking back, wow, this aged like milk. No beating around the bush here, this is straight up a worse version of The Eds Are Coming, bar none. It has the same story. There's this strange occurrence going on, everyone thinks it's an alien, and then it's revealed, no, it's not an alien, but then there's an alien at the end, whoa! In this case, there's a platypus played by Gilbert Gottfried that shows up to Charles Darwin Middle School, and he's suspected to be an alien. Except no, he's not. Except yes, he is. In terms of quality, it's your standard My Gym Partner's a Monkey episode, but in terms of Invaded, what was the point of this? Obviously, they're gonna build up to Rick Platypus being in league with the aliens or their leader or something, but he never comes back. He's never mentioned. The whole thing is pointless. Furthermore, it seems like the crew behind Gym Partner didn't really get the whole Cartoon Network Invaded outline that everyone got, because this does not seem like the same alien species from the rest of the story. They're talking about brain juice and all that. I don't think they even mentioned cheese once. So either they didn't get the memo, like I said, or the crew behind this show wanted to make a standalone episode that could barely qualify as Cartoon Network Invaded. I don't know why they would do that exactly. Maybe it's a kind of protest thing. Who really knows? But I do know that this episode is pretty lackluster, to say the least. For Camp Lazlo, we didn't get one episode, but 2 episodes! The first one is The Strange Trout from Outer Space. When I was watching this episode, I was so excited. Obviously, Gym Partner was kind of a flop because that episode had almost nothing— what am I saying? It had nothing to do with the story, so they're finally getting back to it with Camp Lazlo. The episode starts off with Samson getting abducted by aliens, and they're saying that they're gonna hold him hostage for all the world's cheese. Yes! Finally, we're getting into the good stuff! The thing that Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends was building up, and Ed, Edd n Eddy and My Gym Partner's a Monkey kinda skipped on. So what's gonna happen here? Well, they let him go within 30 seconds, and then the episode's about these new Canadian campers coming to Camp Kidney, and Samson thinks they're aliens. We're doing this story again? This is the 3rd episode in a row where someone sees some new thing going on and they think they're an alien.
You are so disappointing on so many levels.
Aside from the brief bit with the aliens early on, once again, there's no continuation of the story. The only purpose the aliens serve here is to remind you that yes, the invaded story's still going on, don't worry. But all you can really do is take their word for it, because you got no proof aside from that. So how's the other Camp Lazlo episode, Cheese Orbs? Well, this one focuses on the Squirrel Scouts, so what's gonna happen here? Gretchen's gonna get kidnapped by the aliens and she's gonna be held hostage, but then they determine she's of no worth to them, so there's gonna be new Squirrel Scouts she thinks are aliens? That's what I thought it was gonna be going in, because I didn't remember this episode at all. Whenever I thought back to Cartoon Network Invaded after rediscovering it, I thought there was only one Camp Lazlo Invaded episode, not 2. And sure enough, the aliens do show up here saying, "Give us your cheese." And that's about it. Yeah, the whole thing is about them thinking that— yeah, I'm just kidding. There's actually a real story this time. We find out that the aliens want to get cheese. Which we kind of already knew from the Cheese A Go-Go episode, but okay, sure. And Nina's trying to study the aliens while they're trying to steal the cheese that's going to be shown off at this big annual cheese ball that Acorn Flats is hosting. It's not great, but it's a lot better than most of the episodes we've been getting. This is a lot more of what I thought Cartoon Network Invaded was gonna be. So, I guess Camp Lazlo got it half right, but by far the best episode from Cartoon Network Invaded, and one of the only 2 I can say are actually good, is the final episode, Billy and Mandy Moon the Moon. This could be completely separate from Cartoon Network Invaded, and I wouldn't question it at all. So, let me explain. This is how Cartoon Network Invaded's story progresses. There's a tiny little bit of it in Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, there's a little more setup in Camp Lazlo, and then all the rest happens in Billy and Mandy. The Billy and Mandy bit has the entire 3-act structure, it's just missing a couple tiny pieces. But they're not very important pieces because all the information that's missing can either be gained through just thinking about the episode a little bit, or it's all implied through the conversations. This episode is funny, it's action-packed, it has a good story, and it has Sir Raven. See? I care what happens to Sir Raven. This should have been all that Cartoon Network Invaded was. Nothing else. If the rest of these episodes disappeared, I wouldn't care. Sure, the Eds Are Coming is a good episode, but it's not the best. It's no Hand-Me-Down Ed or Run for Your Ed. So with this is all it should have been. It wouldn't have been as epic, but it also wouldn't have been as much of a letdown. I'd say it's worth it. So what was the aliens' plan overall? Well, they were gonna come to Earth, steal all the cheese, and then replace all the cheese with fake cheese, and then come down and steal all the people and replace all the people with fake people, and it will be as though they were never there. Yeah, kinda dumb, kinda goofy, but I buy it. I also do like that we have some cameos from some other characters that never got to be in Cartoon Network Invaded. These would be Dexter and Number 2, by the way. Speaking of Number 2, why wasn't K&D a part of this? It would have made so much more sense to have aliens in Kids Next Door than, say, Ed, Edd n Eddy or My Gym Partner's a Monkey. I'd even buy Class of 3000 more than I'd buy Ed, Edd n Eddy. Also, this is the only episode to resolve the Frankie's Package storyline. Wondering why I didn't mention anything about that earlier? Simple. It's because it means absolutely nothing. In Cheese-A-Go-Go, Frankie sends off 4 packages that were obviously supposed to be opened by the cast of the other shows. But Billy and Mandy's the only one that followed through on that, and even then, it's only at the very end in a bonus after-credits scene. That's all. We don't get to see, say, Eddie or Windsor or Scoutmaster Lumpus opening up these packages from Frankie. Nothing. This was supposed to be one of the storylines that connected all these shows together, aside from the same alien species with the same plan, but we didn't get any of that because nobody decided to follow through aside from Billy and Mandy. The only other through line we have is the same UFO appearing in every show, but again, that's barely anything. It doesn't matter. Just like Cartoon Network Invaded, it was nothing. It didn't matter. Most of these episodes were lackluster to awful. This is a ratings trap in every sense of the word. Look at all these promotional images they had on CartoonNetwork.com. Throwing back to those old 1950s B-movie sci-fi posters. To this day, I still think they look really cool, and they get me hyped every time I see them. But then I remember that they're promoting Cheese-A-Go-Go and the Strange Trout from Outer Space and that darn platypus, and then I remember that, yeah, these are garbage, they're worthless, they didn't need to happen. The creators agreed. Like Craig McCracken said, nobody was on board with this at all. Not with Kraft, not without. It was all Cartoon Network getting greedy, and then when it didn't pan out, they decided, well, we're too far into production anyways, let's just make this our own thing, and yeah, it disappointed a lot of people. Maybe someday we here at Media Mementos will show you how this could have and should have been done. Who knows? It's possible, but don't hold your breath, we got a whole lot of other ideas, but no matter what we end up doing, we hope that you will walk away from this video learning that Cartoon Network Invaded really was one big ratings trap. Well folks, thanks for watching the video. What'd you guys think? Were there any episodes in Cartoon Network Invaded that you liked? And what was your personal experience with this whole thing? Comment below and let me know, because I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. Real quick, I'd like to thank our Patreon executive producers, Leaf Razor, Azarius, Whoopdoo, Michaela Bellamy, MD the Dude, Blackjack, and Nightingale Wednesday Nightmare. If you too would like your name read at the end of every Media Mementos video, then consider donating to our Patreon, which has a link in the description below. And now, folks, it's time for the comment of the day. Today's comment of the day goes to Tottendale. It seems like you guys are becoming the adult media channel. If this is the direction you guys are going, I'm in full support of it. There are millions of kids show reviewers, but adult animation is often either a gimmick or a once-in-a-while thing. You guys have given it a lot of attention and go more in depth than I've seen anyone go before. Thanks, Todd and Dale, and actually, yeah, that's kind of where we're going. It wasn't really a conscious decision at first, it was just because Moral Orel was such a big hit here. So we decided to keep pursuing that, and as it turns out, it wasn't just Moral Orel that was becoming a hit. People liked what we had to say about The Simpsons, Futurama, Drawn Together, South Park, and hopefully coming up Bob's Burgers as well. So yeah, that's kind of what Media Mementos is becoming. It's helping us find our unique voice and style. So basically that, how I would have made it, and everything you need to know about are going to be the 3 staple things here on the channel. So yay, that's going to be great. But this doesn't mean that we're going to focus only on adult things. Shows like Jimmy Neutron, SpongeBob, Dave the Barbarian, The Proud Family, they're all still going to have a home here, trust me, I promise. We're not going to abandon you guys who subscribe just for that. Also, if you like Versus the Network, stay tuned for July. Anyways, thanks for watching everybody, and we'll see you guys next time!